Hey guys, we're back. This is our third podcast, and we're very excited to be back here. I'm Wolf.
Hey, I'm Marcus, and for the first time joining us for some funny comments is our producer Dylan. Hey.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
The focus of this podcast, I think, is going to be we're going to talk about. I just had a regionals this past weekend where I placed second in Philadelphia, and we're going to talk about that and some other stuff, I think.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations for an very impressive run, I would say.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's my best performance since 2012 in regionals, where I also
Yeah,
got second in Philly. So I'm definitely happy about that. Yeah.
yeah, so how does it feel being back on like the big stage in regionals? I mean, you got a top four in 2013, but now back to the finals.
Yes, it
It's
was
good.
it was great. It was kind of surprising because I had a lot of really nerve-wracking games in top 16, top 8, and top 4, where I definitely thought I was going to lose at multiple points. And so just to make it to the finals against a good friend of mine, Aaron Zhang, was awesome.
Yeah, obviously, congratulations to him as well. And I think like those tournaments in which you like can tell how you're going to do like each round and so on was like the most exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when there was a lot of 7 and 2s that didn't cut, and since I was 4 and 1 when I lost, I had to kind of focus and make sure I didn't lose again.
Yeah, but then you went 8-1, which is
Yes.
pretty good.
Yeah, and so I think the reason that it's worth talking about regionals, this is kind of an abnormal regional for me because my team, which should be online soon, if it's not already, was very, very, very weird. And not weird as in it was unusual. It was just very stupid. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
It's just I don't think it's like
No,
anything
I would
people
I
would
would say
expect
I
to
would
use.
describe it as in like it's things that you expect like beginners to use, and then you classify as not good.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree with
well,
that.
yeah, definitely not something you would expect the world's runner-up Wolfe Glick to bring to a regional that is important to him.
No, absolutely not. And I think so. For those of you who haven't read the team or want a little refresher, it was a Scarf Polytoad set with Surf paired with Absorb Bulb Ludicolo, with the main strategy there being you launch a Surf and then you've got Ludicolo at +1, Absorb Bulb, raises special attack by 1 when it's hit with a water move. So you have that as a gimmick. And then just standard Pokemon that go well together, like Zapdos, Mawile, and Garchomp as an alternate core with Aegislash for some specific threats. Um,
That sounds like a very basic rain team.
Very, very, very basic. And so the reason I ended up using this dumb team is I had a different team in mind. But I didn't do that well in a Premier Challenge, and I thought it was kind of defensive, and I wanted something a little more offensive to bring to a regional. And so I had this dumb idea to just use like a surf spam team. So I built it on PS and I started testing it, and I did very well with it, like very, very well. I was undefeated for like a ridiculous amount of games, and I was like, well, if it works, like why not? So I updated it a little bit. I looked a little bit into the EV spreads, but there wasn't that much I could do because it was so basic. And then I got in a game. And so I thought that I was going to do very well. I thought I was going to, just lead Poly to Ludicolo every game, fake out Surf, 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 win, basically. But what ended up happening is that almost all of my opponents had either Ludicolo, Lapras, or Ferrothorn, which are all Pokemon that Poly to Ludicolo really don't like to fight. And because of that, I was kind of I felt like I was at a disadvantage the entire time because I was always unable to bring my rain mode. Like I only brought my rain mode to a few games, and most of the games I brought them to, like I brought it even though the opponent had Ludicolo or Ferrothorn, or Lapras.
Damn those opponents! How can they prepare for rain? You know,
I know, but
who would have expected that?
I don't know. Like I was like yes, yes, like hooray, and like oh my god, this is this froggy Pokemon, and it gets Drizzle now, and I don't know.
Yes. Ah, yeah.
But somehow I guess I don't know. Like I guess people were countering like I don't know, like Rotom Wash maybe, and like other Pokemon like that, and it coincidentally happened to beat Rain, which is unfortunate. But okay, I think the really surprising thing about the team, on a serious note, is the fact that I didn't lose more than I did. Like I had some very close matches, and I had a tough schedule. Like I played Chuppa, I played Judy, who's the world's runner-up from this year. I played Aaron, I played Enosh, I played Paul Chua, as well as a lot of other players who I think are very good but aren't necessarily as established. And even though I felt like I had a bad matchup, the team still ended up doing pretty well, which is honestly just confusing because I think it's a pretty, I don't know, I think it was like a pretty lackluster team in almost all respects.
Okay, okay. You know my perspective on that topic. I just think that with like stuff like, I mean, people who read the report will know the sets, but basically it was like substitute Life Orb Garchomp, which is like my favorite set at the moment. and then the bulky Zapdos, which was very similar to what Ray used at US Nationals,
Mhm.
and then obviously Mobile. And I think all of those Pokemon are like Pokemon that are like so good in what they're doing that it's like hard to like specifically counter them, you know? I mean,
Yes.
like everybody knows that Garchomp is around, but that doesn't mean that people just put this or that on their team and then they're like, oh, okay, like Garchomp no problem anymore because it still performs well, you
Yes.
know? So that was basically also what I thought, or my thought process going into my Worlds team, that I just wanted to use Pokemon that I like that I would always be able to bring them, you know,
Yes.
if that kind of makes sense. So I think that's like part of why you still did well, even though most of your opponents were prepared for the hardcore rain mode.
Yes, and I think that's very true. It was just a little interesting, especially in 2 out of 3 when because my opponents, so many of them were prepared for the rain mode. It was really interesting because I was kind of forced to use my core of Zapdos, Mawile, Garchomp, and normally Politoed in the back, unless I wanted Aegislash for some reason. And so when you don't have any versatility to what you can bring, like if my opponent had Ludicolo and one Pokemon that I would struggle with those other 3 with, like I was kind of in a very bad position because I didn't really have much I could do. I played one opponent with, for example, Charizard and Raichu and Azumarill and Ludicolo, and so I wanted to bring the Rain mode to take out Charizard, but then I had nothing for Ludicolo, for Saltas Ludicolo. Or like it was really tough, and I kind of just got lucky against him with Swagger because Swagger is very good. But yeah, I think there's an interesting lesson in the success of the team because even though, I mean, I think I should mention that I probably got lucky. I barely beat Paul Chua. I beat Enosh, and I don't think I should have. I think if we played again, he'd probably win. I took him to timer one game. But I think nonetheless, it's very interesting to see how even if your matchup is bad, if you use Pokemon that are so naturally good, such as like what you said, Garchomp, Mawile, Zapdos,
Mhm.
like you can still win games even like if your Pokemon have a bad matchup because those 3 would just work so well together.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
basically exactly what you said.
Yeah, but because I think it also like helps you to like play better, you know,
Yes,
because it's like a core that you know is good and that you can like those 3 alone have the tools to beat multiple threats and so on if you play well. And um, so yeah, it's just at the moment that's just like my type of play, and I'm glad it worked for you as well to just run like very boring mons, you know.
yes, and yeah. So it wasn't as fun, but it did provide results. Also, I think I should mention that my games weren't taking that long. Like aside from when I had to take people to timer, I think the fact that in a 9-round Swiss plus top 16 2 out of 3 tournament, I think endurance is a really big factor, and we didn't get a lunch break. So like I think the fact that I could end games quickly, like even without Paulette or Ludicolo, just because Garchomp and Mawile like hit so hard. I think the fact that like I got breaks between rounds, like I was winning games in 5 minutes, which is pretty good. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
and so I wasn't that tired. Like it didn't require that much mental energy. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
there were some games that didn't. Sometimes I just spammed moves like Swagger or like Dragon Claw or like Play Rough. But for the most part, I think the fact that I had enough energy was in part because of my the quickness with which I finished my games.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about that in the first episode of this broadcast because like my world's games were like going a little bit quicker than yours probably.
Yes, yes, a
So
lot quicker.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. One question I wanted to pose you is like, would you consider using that team again if you like knew the meta and knew how that tournament worked out, but like nobody else knew? You know what I'm trying to
Uh,
say?
no, I don't think I would. It wasn't that much. Like it was really fun to win, but the team itself, I didn't get a lot of enjoyment out of using. I think I could have done something similar with a different gimmick or like a different set of Pokemon.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think I'd use Polito Ludicolo again. I like the other Mons except for it. Like I think I would stick with the core of Mawile, Garchomp, Zapdos. I think that was
Yes.
pretty good, but I don't think Polito Ludicolo was the way to go.
Okay. Okay. I see.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
okay, if my opponents hadn't all had a good counter to my rain mode, then yeah, I would have liked to use the Polito Ludicolo core just because it's so goofy, and when your opponent lacks a really reliable counter to it, you just blow through people. That's what happened online because the metagame online wasn't that prepared for rain, so I could just hit Surf and then kill everything. Like for example, Surf plus Ice Beam, OHKO's Hydreigon, which is pretty important because like you can't do that without Absorb Bulb.
Yes. And people don't expect it, and Hydreigon is like,
Pretty bulky.
one, yeah, and like water resistance. So
Yes. Yeah. So with all that in mind, I don't think I would use it again. But if if it were the only team I could use to get that result again, I would. Like even though it
Okay.
wasn't
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point in the season, results are more important than having fun.
Agreed. Agreed. Because you can have fun later if you get to Worlds.
Yes.
It's not that fun to watch Worlds on the sidelines, Yeah. So I think that's all we really have to say about that. And Marcus, do you want to tell us about your theory?
Yeah, okay, so I was thinking about, Wolfe had this very good regionals run, get second place, built this very, very clever, creative brain team.
Very,
that
very
nobody expected.
sophisticated. You forgot
So,
sophisticated. Yes.
I tried to like create some kind of information that might be helpful for some of you, probably not for everybody, but it's always like hard for us to create content that is enjoyable for everybody or that everybody can learn from.
Yes.
So anyway, like I don't know, some weeks ago, a friend of mine asked me about what the difference is between like good players in Pokemon and like very good players, and I thought that it would probably be good to explain it on like a level where you just took Pokemon to like its basics. And okay, so let's pretend Pokemon is a game where all you needed to do was like get 10 points, okay? And at the beginning of the game, depending on how good your team fares against the other guys, generally a game starts at 0 because it's even battleground. And then after each move, you would evaluate whether or not you gained or lost points. You would win a point you would win points if you did like moves that improved your chances of winning or improved your position and therefore improved your chances of winning. And you would lose points if your opponent improved their position. So if whenever you get to 10, that's like a victory. And if you're at -10, which means that your opponent is at 10, they would automatically win.
Yes.
So I think a misconception in Pokemon is that a lot of people think like, okay, I have this, say Scarf Salamence and the other guy has Garchomp. So I should use Fire Blast because he could switch into his Mawile. And then if it like plays off, it's like very good move for you and you get like, I don't know, say +5 or something because you just took out their Mega and have like good board position and so on. But there's also the chance of them just going for Protect because it's like the save move. And then Protect is a move that they cannot lose anything from, or like they almost lose nothing from protecting, you know, except for not being
Dragon Dance, yes.
Following turn or Dragon Dance or something.
Like yes, okay.
But and then if they see you going for Fire Blast, then they just won't switch to Mobile and you're like in the worst position. So that's just a move that is like very risky, and if it works, it's like very good, but there's also like a high chance of it not working. So I think a lot of people, they try too hardcore to get like a lot of points in the early turns and so on. But I think that the play styles that get like the most consistent results and are like the best, I think, or that are what the best players are using, is that what you would do is like not trying to end the game in like one turn, but instead trying to just like steadily improve your position by, say, getting like +3 points in a turn, which is like a good switch, and then you have like a better position, but not like taking out a mon immediately.
Yes.
Because you would always just risk losing on the same turn.
Yes.
And then there's obviously like a high need of risk-reward management that you need to take into account. And so I think like top players, they go like +2 points and then lose 1 probably because they want to make a save move, not risk anything, and then just steadily climb up to getting what I said, like 10 points and something like that. So yeah, I would suggest people not to try and overextend in the early game, but instead to like stabilize their positions and then try to like get like more advantage over time and not from one turn to another.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have like the same thought in a different sense, like in a different way of saying it. I've always thought about like some people get caught up in the turn-to-turn prediction. They're like, oh, I've got Salamence, like he's got Garchomp, I should Fire Blast, or like I could Draco Meteor. But what you have to think about, what I try to think about, is the end game. And so like let's say my team is very, very, very weak to Garchomp or Mawile, then my top priority should be to take that out. And I think sometimes people get caught up in like the turn-to-turn predictions, or like, oh, he's gonna switch, he's not gonna switch, rather than thinking, what do I need to do to win? So, for example, I had a lot of games where I would like see that my opponent would like have 4 Pokemon left, and I'd go down to like 1 or 2 or 4 or 3 Pokemon. But my last Pokemon would be like Life Orb Garchomp or like Surf Scarf Politoed. So what I could do is it didn't even matter that they had 4 and I had 1, because I would just send in Politoed or Garchomp and hit Surf or Earthquake, and because they put themselves in the position where they'd forgotten about like the end game that I had,
Yeah.
like I could just hit Surf and win, like because they couldn't do anything because all their Pokemon were like sufficiently low health, where like there was nothing they could do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that is like the perfect way to play the game. Like, not to think about the individual turn, but to think about the whole battle. You know, like if you
Yes.
compare it to chess, for example, say if you like take a sacrifice in chess and then you end up with a way worse position, then you're like, oh, okay, damn, like I shouldn't have taken that one out because it gave them a free switch in, and then
Yes.
I was locked into that move that wasn't super effective, and he got the boost or the substitute or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just something to like keep in mind, and to just like take care about if you're playing or if you're like analyzing your games, which is also a very good thing to improve your playing. Like just identify why you lost and try not to blame it on like bad luck or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, because there's generally like I don't know, if luck were really that prominent, we wouldn't see such consistent results like Ray. So I mean that's another topic, but I think we both agree on that.
Yeah, or we wouldn't see regionals finals Aaron versus Wolfe.
I don't know. I got pretty lucky. But yeah, I think that's a good thing to think about. And I think we should now briefly touch on. We've had some interesting rumors, Marcus, and I heard about. I think they're originating from Italy.
Yes.
So why don't you give us all a rundown of that?
Okay, a friend of mine is studying abroad from Germany, and he attended a Premier Challenge in Italy, and it was obviously, okay, how could it be? It was won by a genie. The runner-up was also a genie. Probably not the genies you would expect, though, since it was Nicola beating Albi in the finals, but still, they put up their pride. Also, by the way, I know that Arash drove out to Switzerland to win 2 Premier Challenges over there.
Oh, wow.
So there's something I got to catch up on.
Yes.
So anyway, there was like a rumor going around that said that there was like the CP structure or rather the invite structure for Worlds still is not announced, and we don't know how to qualify for Worlds. I mean, we can obviously guess that it has something to do with championship
CP.
points. Yeah, hopefully.
Yes.
And so anyway, basically, what they told him was that there's a rumor in the Italian community saying that there's like, I don't know, I think it was like the top 256 players in CP from all over the world would get the invite to Worlds, and then the top 64 in Worlds in the whole world would get like the paid trip, which is like pretty funny.
Oh, it's a
considering.
good idea, right? Except when you consider the fact that Europe has 3 nationals, right? And so you
Yeah,
have
and like
players
no
from Europe.
regionals or anything at all.
Yes, and so then we look at like places like Korea or Japan, and we say, "Oh, okay, like sorry, like you like Japanese national champion, you won Japanese
Congratulations, but sorry, no Worlds for you. So,
because you don't have enough CP." Okay, yeah.
what is your suggestion, or how would you take on that topic, or like what
I would
are you
personally,
hoping for?
I'd like to see a bar where you say, okay, like everyone who has in the US, let's say 500. Anyone with like 500 GP gets the invite, because I think that's better. Or like some bar, it doesn't have to be 500. Maybe not 500. That's a little high, but I don't know. Like, and then you say, okay, top 4. I mean, I'd rather see more trips from the US, but like top X in CP get the flight, because that way it's still competitive over other people. And if you're already at 500 or like whatever the bar is, it doesn't like it motivates you to still keep going.
Exactly.
But that way, I think that people like I remember last year. Fortunately, we had like Omega Donut and Dingram on the bubble, like one like a few points separating them, or like a tie. I think they were tied in points.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and so I think it was nice to see both of them get the invite. And I think that I know in 2013 when the CP system was first implemented, we saw like players like Dewey and Simon who were very upset because they'd bubbled on a few CP from like a Wi-Fi tournament. And exactly. And so I think that by implementing a bar like the TCG does, you can still have those players who maybe like I don't know. It makes it more relative, and it makes like people with like a fluke season or like somebody who has like a very good nationals but nothing else doesn't knock out people who have done consistent around the whole season.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I also think that the idea of having a CP bar and then top X getting the flight is like the good way to do, because obviously like with a CP bar, I think in like TCG it is like top something, get the trip at
Yes.
nationals.
Mhm.
So for example, in Germany it's like only the first and the runner-up get the trip in TCG.
Mhm.
And so like there's almost no motivation for players to like play nationals because it's like so difficult to come
Yes.
out on top in a country with like several very good players.
Mhm.
So all of them just play for the invite, and whenever you have your 500 or whatever you need CP, then they would just like, for example, like help friends and scoop to them in tournaments and so
Mhm.
on, which
And
is
start
like
saving
not
money,
a-
probably.
yeah, and that too. Because like I don't know, I don't want that to happen in the video game
No.
more than it already happened in the past. So I
Yes.
think like having an incentive to play on is always a good thing.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, because I think that if you're already qualified for Worlds, then you're probably in contention for the trip. You know.
Yeah, obviously.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So then that's our little bit of gossip slash rumor. And so yeah. For those of you who don't know, at regionals we had a really interesting thing that I'm very glad to see, where they recorded actually some of our matches, like a random match around was recorded, and my top 8, top 4, and finals matches were recorded, and it was recorded in a way where like I don't know, like if you guys remember the old battle boxes where you plug in uh your cartridge to like a box and it would project it onto the screen, but it's a similar concept where you'd play on like a DS that was hooked up to a computer, and then your game would be saved to the computer itself. And so they did that with the goal of using the matches to train future commentators so that there's more videos out there to train them. What that means though is that like my matches live were recorded, and so Marcus and I are going to try our hand at commentating. So as soon as I get those videos, I'm going to start. I mean, we'll start like working on that. And so that'll give you guys something to look forward to. We definitely like YouTube. It's definitely a good way for us to get in touch with people, and especially these podcasts seem to have been getting like a very positive feedback, and we really like seeing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for the feedback, and yeah, we hope that we can like live up your expectations. In some
Absolutely, and we want to keep making the podcast better and interesting. So if you hear something you like, let us know. We're gonna try. I know we said these podcasts were bi-weekly. I think it'll vary based on our tournaments and when we have
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
enjoy
there's-
doing them. So
As long as there's something to talk about, we can do
yes,
them. I guess.
yeah, we might start making special segments too. Like we can talk about a gimmicky Pokemon, or
Yes.
we can have more rumors, more
More
gossip.
filler content in general, yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's about it. Anything
Yeah,
else to add?
I
Yeah.
also wanted to advertise my games versus the Flow in the semifinal of the Arena Cup have been uploaded, and we'll put the links to those games in the description. Even
Yes.
though I lost, I think, and we were both like very tired when we played. I think they're like pretty cool, especially the second game.
Yes, I actually saw
yeah,
that game. I was very
just
impressed.
throwing that out.
Yeah, okay, and I think we're gonna have some more matches of yours, Marcus, uploaded when we can. We're looking into getting a capture card so we can get that up. And yeah, anything to add, Dylan?
No, I don't think so. Just we're gonna just like as we said, this will come out on a like basically content basis. So like we'll aim
Yes.
for every other week, but if something comes up that's important, such as regionals this past weekend, we'll try to get one out as quick as possible.
Yeah, well said. Okay, well then, I think that's about it. We still don't have a name. We've gotten some great suggestions.
It's so hard to decide though.
Yeah, we've gotten too many good suggestions is the problem.
Yes.
But we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
So yeah, thanks a lot for talking, and
Yes.
thanks to everybody supporting us and listening to it. I hope you got some cool new informations or something to laugh about. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Well, until next time, guys. Thanks so much.
see you.
Bye.